Hey guys, one of you suggested in an earlier video that since the Smart Head is still on pre-order and isn't going to be here until January, that you might as well get some content about it and learn anything you need to right now. That way you can just be ready for it when it comes. I completely agree. I do have one in possession. I wish I had more, but I definitely have enough to show you what it does in its entirety. There will also be an entire online library of videos for each segment, for like an online manual, and there will also be a written literature manual. So it will have all these things covered in this angle. So essentially this video will be dissected and more dynamically put out on our store channel. Subscribe to that if you can. But anyways, here we go. So when we said we were going to delay the Smart Head system back into the month to make some certain changes, we got a lot of pushback. A lot of people weren't terribly happy about that, but I'm personally not sorry about it at all, okay? Because this was the actual prototype Smart Head that you were going to get. And we could have got this one out as probably early as late October, early November, but then this one is the actual Smart Head where it's already got a collar, it connects, you don't have to take the head apart and do all kinds of stuff in there. It's got the coil cord. That's the biggest thing. Everything in here, including the power cord, is included. So no more having to worry about this other power cord, which is really and truly not meant over time to just wrap around and wrap around. It's like the standard trolling motor cord. That's gone. This has an internal circuit breaker. It has a kill switch up here. It has a bigger drive motor. This is the standard one, and this one has a much more powerful drive motor. And all the connections are linked here internal. And on top of that, this one has firmware updates and other things that are going to make this incredibly valuable. This one did not have that. And so people are asking about, what about a better remote? What about like a smart remote? That's coming. What about a foot pedal? We're going to have one that's wireless. That's also coming. So this head, I mean, with firmware updates, we can add any number of accessories to this one where you simply weren't going to get it with this one. So if you're still upset with us that, you know, your pre-order got delayed a few months, well then, I don't know what to tell you. All right, guys, so we're in the Autoboat app. Connect your device. Once you see a blue light here, it means you're connected. You can hear this terribly well, but that was a one beep. And every time you turn it on, a function on or off, it's a beep plus a descending beep. So on, off, right? Shut up, duck. So if you want to go to anchor mode, and the same beep. NAV mode, descending beep. You power it off with a, makes kind of an emergency sound when you hit the emergency cutoff button. If you press it again, it will make that sound every time you connect it to a battery or you restart it from the emergency cutoff switch. So the phone app is fantastic to have, especially as an emergency remote, but it sucks as a primary remote. The regular remote works much better. All right, so right now we're at 40%. This will go all the way, the first throttle goes to 15%, then 20, and then 10% increments all the way up to 100. And as you're descending, you descend in 10-second increments all the way down until 0. And if you try to go past 0, see, you hear that that lower beep, that descending beep, means that you've either turned it off or you've come to an end. Next, I want to do NAV mode. See, the motor is pointing that way. When we hit the NAV button and we give it some throttle, we'll give it 20% throttle, it's going to start straightening out. And it's going to take us in an A to B line. As long as our rudder or outboard in the back is straight, then this will go straight with no augmentation. It works best under 50% throttle, past 50% throttle. Some trolling motors have known to do like a snake motion and some don't. We actually haven't figured it out. The minute we do, we'll add a firmware update to fix that. But for the moment, just know that it works under 50% the best. At or under 50%. Now say I wanted to turn, like I like this line, but I want to go to the left a little more. You're going to press it and it'll do 5% increments every time you press it. So now we made a 15% grade to the left from our original line, and then it will start straightening back out. Now, say I want to do a hard right line, you can hold it, and it will do that. Also, if you wanted to just do a hard turn in another direction, it'll straighten back out as it's doing. We're going to go hard right again. There we go. And it'll just autocorrect for the duration of the line that we choose, as long as we're in NAV mode. Okay, say that we are wanting to anchor, like we found a spot we want to be at and we want to stay here. So that's when the anchor button, both on the remote and right here, comes into play. Press it. Now our NAV mode has stopped. And now it is turning around within a few short seconds to put us back on the point that we chose to be at, which is right around here. Now we were in complete calm conditions. If you're in a really light boat like this Newport NS130, which is only 66 pounds the whole weight, and then only with all the accessories, maybe 100 pounds total for the whole boat. When you're in calm conditions like this, the boat may drift a lot. It'll drift if I cast. If I cast and retrieve a lure, it'll pull the boat a certain way. Just sitting here, because the boat's so light, it will move around. A lot of people who are used to this GPS technology are having it on really high-end bass boats that weigh thousands and thousands of pounds and are not very easy to move and just sit there in the hole. And it takes a whole lot of force to actually push that thing, when it takes almost little to no force to move a small watercraft like this inflatable boat, or a kayak, or even a small john boat. So keeping that in mind, we have had it refined to deal with circumstances like this. See how well it's been keeping us here? So the boat has been drifting around and doing its little thing, but we are here on this point. We anchored on this point right there just before that buoy over there, and it is staying where it's supposed to stay. Now, if we wanted to do something unique, we could create some artificial drag with our Newport NT300 electric outboard here. We'll give it a little bit of throttle. Now we've created an actual wind/current scenario. So it's in anti-core wrap mode. That's why it did that, because it's not wanting to tangle itself up a lot. So see how it put us back on point? So right now, we're completely on point. Creating artificial drag like this with the outboard is not the most realistic scenario, because the boat will actually try to pull and turn. But if you see right here, like in a wind that's kind of varying in directions a little bit, it will just keep you on point like so. We've been staying here consistent with that buoy and that point with the light tower. And it's holding tight. So, and it will do this in a fair amount of current. We have about 20%, about 200 watts going to the motor. So that's not like a little bit. 200 watts will actually push this boat quite fast. So, I mean, we'll go about 3-4 miles an hour. I mean, you're sitting at 2-3 mile an hour current in a river, which is really fast to me. Even winds 10 or so miles an hour. This thing will hold you in 20 plus. The old generation Gen 1 Autoboat system held me in place for like, in the most obscene wind, on point, and a little Prom Prowler 8. It held me just fine. So this system, the brand new Gen 2 Smart Head, is going to just do very, very well. Now say I want to go to the right a little bit. All we have to do is press this once. It'll beep. And it'll start jogging us to the right a little bit. Okay. It'll move you in 5-foot increments. See, that's about 5 feet. I don't know if you can tell, that's about 5 feet. We'll move back, and then it'll straighten out. Keep you on point like so. I want to go back to the right. And this is gonna go, it's gonna work a little slower under current. If you're in super calm conditions, it'll take a hard bank and just take you to the spot. But right now it's doing well. You can keep on adjusting it like so until you're at your desired point. So if you tell, we're quite far off. We're like over there. We've moved, I think, about 15 feet with everything said and done. And given that we're still under power from the outboard here, and it's doing its fluctuating thing. I mean, the boat kept very stable with very little jerky motion, but still carried us 5 feet to the right in those increments. Now, say I wanted to go up. Say I want to go 5 feet up. So the motor will then move up. See, now we are going, I don't know if you can tell with this pollen, but we are going up. We're not going up very, very aggressively. We're going up very calmly and consistently. So if you don't like the speed in which it's moving to the left or the right or to the front or to the back, you can double or triple tap. It will go. And you can go up. So I pressed it 3 times. So it's going to try and move us up pretty aggressively here. So now we are quite close. We're up there another boat's length. This is about 13 feet. We definitely moved at least another boat's length up. Do it again. It's going. Yep, this is about another boat's length. There, it's pulling us back on point. And this would be anchor jog. So wherever you're anchored, it'll jog left, jog right, jog forward, jog to the rear. We can jog to the rear. And the motor just completely killed all the throttle for that many feet up until it started again. So we're now about 5 feet back. We'll go back another 5 feet. See it? Now it'll start back up right now. Here it will go. And that'll be consistent. I mean, if the wind or the current is pushing or pulling you, like we're simulating with this outboard, then the motor would just kill throttle until it's reached its desired point, which is what it's doing right now. Now we're moving backward again. And there it goes again. These are device settings. When you go into the 3-bar menu, you can see your fishing spots, fishing tracks, manual fishing tracks. So right now I have all these. One I did one at Cattail Cove the other day. Thompson Bay to the channel. I did that one the other day. Like that one's... Your fishing tracks are like your recorded fishing tracks. I only recorded one fishing track. I think doing manual tracks is way easier because you don't have to do the work and then find out where you're supposed to be. We start compass calibration. That's very easy. I mean, we're not going to do that right now because we've already calibrated it and it's already extremely accurate. Erase all remote control is something you want to do if you need to repair a new remote or you get a new remote and it's not wanting to pair. You can go in the app, connect it, press erase all remote control, and it will clear all remote control settings from either manual remotes like this and phone and Bluetooth connection devices. So we're going to do that real quick. Say I lost my remote, I didn't get a new one, and I got a new one and it's, I don't know, it's not wanting to pair through the pair process. We can do erase all remote control. It's going to say all program RCs will be erased. Are you sure? So yeah, all programmed remote controls will be erased. So we erase it. Now if you notice, this thing does not work. It will not work. You have to go through the pair process. The pair process is you have to go and press, this time you have to go and press this. Hold this. You heard that descending beep after we started to back up? That was the repairing. Working again. So the anchor gain settings are going to be labeled something different now. There were like kayak, small boat, and large boat, and really that's okay. People kind of get it, but really what it should be is calm water, standard, and then heavy current or wind. So it'll be changed to those settings for the 3 default settings, and then you'll always have your custom option where you can put it anywhere on the line you want. But I'll be using the old terminology in this video since this was just recently sprung on me. Now say that, and we're just out here on our merry way, and we're like, oh, this is a great place to anchor. So now we're in large boat mode. Now watch the difference between the kayak mode and then how aggressive this thing turns us. See that? That really actually wasn't that bad. I could live with this. But the whole thing with the large boat setting is that in small boats like these, a lot of times it'll overcorrect and it'll try to correct itself and it'll overcorrect because the thing is pushing a bigger boat, so it gives a little bit more thrust to get that boat moving. We talked about how size and weight of boat matters tremendously with the motor thrust. So the boat doesn't weigh much. Go ahead and change it down to kayak. It's also very important to remember that the size of the trolling motor will affect what setting you have on. So say you have a small boat and you have a 30-pound trolling motor, you're probably going to want to keep it on the large boat setting. You're not going to want that motor to go any lower. But if you have a 55-pound trolling motor on a boat this small, you need to change the gauge setting down because that motor will likely, it's too powerful for the watercraft. So far as I will ever keep it, because this thing is very much like the weight of a kayak, is that, see, now look how calm it is. Now I had it on small boat, and that's about the highest I would actually use it here. Small boat, if you just want it a little bit more aggressive, like the kayak setting just ain't pulling you on point too much or is getting drug, you can put it farther up. Or again, you can always use the custom gain. Anti-cord wrap mode, simply, if that thing starts wrapping up, it senses it and it turns it around. It knows it's only supposed to turn so many times around in one direction before it seizes up. So for that reason, you enable it. I don't know why you would disable it, just keep it on. The one thing I did not cover in the video for whatever reason was stern mode. And stern mode is simply, it's mounted on the stern. And then obviously left becomes right and right becomes left when it's on the stern to turn the boat. And so when you put it in stern mode, the buttons become that. So left becomes right, right becomes left on the remote. A lot of people were just flipping the remote upside down and turning it that way, and then it actually worked that way. But in the app, you'll be able to just control it right and left. And then some of the things, obviously, people are concerned about anchor mode only being in the stern and complaining that you can't push nav mode or routes to the stern. So there is no GPS technology out there at all. The most advanced out there from Encoda, Garmin, Lowrance, none of them push from the stern. Not one. And the reason why is because it's pointless. It essentially just shows that the user is too lazy to make a bow plate or some sort of bow mod, which would dramatically increase the performance. With a stern mount mode, you would have to be doing a whole lot of extra things around your boat, probably multiple GPS units to find where the front is and where the back is, and for the back to autocorrect and hope it autocorrects. And like, there's too many things going on there. It's not worth anybody's time to ever do. People say there's a market for it, but really, those people who say there's a market for it, respectfully to you, you just need to grit down and make a bow plate if you want those features. And it's totally, bow plates or bow mods are totally doable on pretty much anything. Okay, we got the littlest breeze here. It's just enough for us to see how accurate this is in a real condition without simulated drag. So here we are in anchor mode. And while we are in anchor mode, let's go to maps. This is that. This is one of my favorite places to fish. And so I would personally like, if you go to recordings while you're in map, you can start a track recording, meaning I could start it from here, make my line, and then it knows exactly what my line is, and then it's there forever. Or I could just not do that and edit one myself. So right here, see that checker? That checker simulates the line we're going to go to. Another one gets a little shallow there. You can kind of see where it gets shallow. So actually, hold on, we don't want that. I want, because it gets shallow there, I want it to come a little wide. Like if you want the most accuracy, you zoom in and then make your marks. Now see, that's running a little shallow, so, well, no. There. So we made a pretty generous loop, so now we're going to just see all these flags. Okay, now go back to recording. Don't mark a fishing spot. Save manual track after you've done all your flags. Now that's saved. Now it's going to highlight in yellow, and when you press it with your finger, it's going to show arrows. That's the direction. If you reverse track, the arrows will go the other way. But we're going to go ahead and start navigation. Once you have it highlighted and it shows arrows, all you got to do is up here, press start navigation. Start. You can reverse track if you want to go the other way, but we're going to just start this. Now we have started it. So let's fish. When you are using NAV mode or track following, it is imperative that you keep your rear outboard or rudder system completely straight. If you do not, then the boat will not track correctly and it will try to autocorrect and you'll have an obscurity in the line. Now it's going to start at a slow speed. If you want it to troll faster down this line, then you need to tell it to go faster. You need to up the throttle. Otherwise, it's going to keep at a nice slow pace like this because this is what we asked it to do. So you could just up the throttle slightly and it will more aggressively pull us on that point. The entire reason for this mode is to fish completely hands-free, knowing your boat is going to direct the way you want it to direct. This actually helps you tremendously. It means more cast, less time correcting the trolling motor. I don't know if you've just missed a fish when you had to correct or you had to do something on your boat to readjust and that fish hit and you missed it. Like, that's happened to me more times than I care to even talk about, but it's not going to happen today. Oh, yeah. Look at that smallie. That is a beautiful smallie, guys. Sweet. That is a nice. That's like, I don't know if it's quite 4. Oh, it was barely hooked too. I knew it was barely hooked. Oh, yeah, look at that thing. All right. I mean, that's nice for Havasu. That was a big smallie for Havasu. Let's start navigation again. It's going to start from where we left off. I hit anchor mode because obviously you don't want to keep on trolling. And you can always monitor your speed. Right now you could even say reverse track if you wanted to hit it. We're in track following. When you see that little mark up here, we're at 20% throttle. The wind is getting ever so more aggressive, so I put it up to 30. So right now it's pulling us back onto the point. What direction are we going in? Yeah, here it goes. Now it's doing it. The other option is you can record your own fishing track, which is, I'm going to show you the difference right now. You can tell definitely between the edited manual track and the recorded fishing track. This is the edited manual track. That is the recorded fishing track. See all the arrows in the recorded one? There's so many more arrows because that's just how it tracks. And here's way less arrows. There's actually, because there's way less arrows in the manual track, there's way less to go wrong. But it's also, you really just have to get it right when you edit it. Like, I got this one completely wrong. That's why I went and did a manual recording. See how much closer to the shoreline I got when I actually went through and did the recording? So it's likely more accurate if you make your own line from scratch the way you know it to be. But it also takes the time to have to go and record that line. And it's sometimes just way easier to go and do a manual track, especially if it's easy to grasp. Now, this one I was trying to map an entire cove manually. Maybe that wasn't the best move, but it is doable. And if you really know the lake and you can just see it by the map, you can do it yourself. Either way, both options are there and available to you. So just choose which one you want to do and follow suit. Marking a fishing spot is extremely simple. All you do is go on the lake in maps, hold down a spot, and just mark your fishing spot just like that. This is really useful because now you don't have to do it in a fish finder, which a lot of times they make it generally overcomplicated. You got to go through a bunch of buttons, and you can just do it right here on the app. No fish finder needed. Mark all your favorite spots. Come back to the lake a year later and remember where they are all at. It's great. I had some success on the manual track, but it wasn't as accurate as I had hoped. I guess there was no really telling until you record it. So I could have ran. So let's go to maps. Let's record a track because we have 2 for preference. You can start a track recording, which means you start it, and then it just marks wherever you're going. So we're recording right now, and we're going to refish this line, and then I got to go to work. So how I'd like to do this normally, I like to just use nav heading at a slow speed like this, 20%, 30% throttle. And then I just make micro adjustments as needed. This is like this. Remember we do this 5% increments with every press of the button? I keep the button, I mean, this remote is relatively invasive. I know people have like not the greatest feeling about the remotes. And I'll tell you, as somebody who's used, you know, GPS trolling motors for who knows how long now, that I didn't necessarily have the best experience with remotes. I thought it was way easier to use the foot pedal than the remote. But this remote is super uninvasive. It's not very heavy, it doesn't hang down. It doesn't have a million buttons on it or a huge screen. It's like 8 buttons. You can immediately, your brain can memorize 8 buttons all day. I think that you will not have a problem doing that. Slow down. Very easy to do this. It takes no time to find the direction arrows and press them. And then just let the GPS like straighten itself out. And then you can fish. I fish this way, never using the recording feature at all, because I just thought it was just easier and faster just to do it this way. You make micro adjustments on the fly, and then you have your own most accurate line. But the recordings are growing on me. They are, slowly but surely. Like being able to focus solely on that ridge without having to worry about micro adjusting or what my trolling motor was doing. Like that was actually pretty key in me catching that fish earlier. All right, we were entering it now. Yeah, I cut that off way too much because I was thinking I was knowing what I was looking at, but it actually looks a lot different when you're there. So see how the actual line I wanted to make was way tighter in than the manual one. So I could choose either or now though. That's a lot of direction points. See how many arrows it was here? Where there was way less turn points. It's got 1 million turn points here. Right here at the buoy. All right, thank you so much for watching this. I hope this answered all the questions and anything that piqued your curiosity kind of got solved in this video. If it didn't, let me know. This video will be broken down into a series, a library, and any additions that need to be made to it can and will be made. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned and wait for Autoboat to arrive.